Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast. I'm Anne Alvares, parent coach, school counselor, and mother of two. Do you sometimes struggle with your parenting role? Do you notice that sometimes you're repeating patterns that you learned in your own childhood? Maybe you are carrying childhood pain that has not been healed, and you notice that it is showing up in your parenting with your own children. Perhaps you yell or get frustrated easily. Maybe you are directing them or telling them what to do all the time, and you notice that your actions are affecting your relationship with your children. Well, parents, I totally understand this. I came from childhood pain and I learned how to be a relational parent with my children. And I can teach this to you as well. This podcast is all about learning how to heal the childhood pain that we are carrying so that we can foster healthy relationships with our kids. Join us every week for a new show, and we will dive into the healing and the fostering of healthy relationships with our children. Recording. Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast. Okay, today we're going to talk about punishment, why punishment is unhealthy, and what we can do instead of punishing our kids. All right, so, as I have shared, I have over 16 years of counseling teenagers, experience counseling teens. And so I've had many, many conversations with teenagers about their experiences with their parents. And I've also worked with many, many parents on repairing relationship with their teenagers and how what they're doing is actually damaging to them. So from these years of working with teens, I have learned that when we punish our kids, we are actually doing damage to them. And that is the reason I don't punish my kids, actually. I have not punished my kids. I think just when they were toddlers, we did do like timeouts. I think you need to take a time out, but I don't see that as punishment. I see that as a strategy for regulating emotions. Punishment is like taking away things, grounding, um, not letting them see their friends, not letting them go out, not letting them have their phone, taking away, digital devices, not letting them go on a trip. Okay, those are kinds of punishments that parents do. Okay. So so back to my conversations with teenagers. Uh, when they get punished by their parents, there is an internal messaging that they give themselves that we don't know about. And that message is, I'm bad. There's something wrong with me. Um, my parents don't love me, or I'm not lovable, or I'm not worthy. Okay. So is that the message we want to give our kids? Because that is the message that they take away with them into their adult lives when they're being punished. So, what do we do instead? Okay, so if we don't want our children to have a poor self-esteem and to internalize a message that they're not good enough or that they're not loved, then we have to stop punishing. It's as simple as that. We have to stop punishing. Okay, so parents, I want to ask you, why do you feel the need to punish? Is it because when, as a kid, that is how your parents dealt with behavior that they didn't like? Is it because you feel this need to control them? And then you see your job as one of getting them to comply, getting them to follow the rules? Like, I think it's really good to stop and think, why am I punishing my child? Why do I feel the need to punish my child? And oftentimes it stems from our own fears, Oh, if I don't take control, they're going to do something bad. If I don't get on them now, something bad will happen, right? And I say, like, parenting out of fear is so bad. It is actually unhelpful for our kids and it actually stifles them. So we have to be thinking about, am I parenting from a place of fear? And that's the reason I resort to punishment. And then we need to find out if we're repeating old patterns from our own childhoods, because that's how our parents dealt with us, right? But I'm going to tell you, parents, if we want to raise healthy kids, healthy adults, then we have to be healthy with them. And punishment actually is not healthy. If you think about healthy relationships, then you know then when someone's trying to control you, take away things, um, trying to force you to do things they want, that actually is not healthy. That is not what we want to model to our children because then they are going to attract relationships that are unhealthy, people that are going to try to control them. And they're going to think that's normal. They're going to think, oh, yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be. You know, parents, I'm going to tell you, I know this because this is my experience also as a child, that I had very controlling parents that um, always tried to dominate, right? Um, used punishment and coercive measures to get compliance from my brother and I. And in my experience, because of growing up with that kind of parenting, I had very poor self-esteem as a young woman. And I also was looking for other people's opinions, other people's thoughts, because I didn't trust my own voice, because I wasn't allowed to have a voice in my home, which, by the way, is unhealthy. And it wasn't until I became an adult that I realized that the way I grew up was actually unhealthy. And I have learned because I wanted to change my parenting with my own children. I've learned what actually works. And I'm fortunate because I've had the experience of talking to hundreds, maybe thousands of teenagers over the years of their experiences. And now I have a really good understanding of the way our kids think about what we're doing with them and what they actually need. Okay, so if we want our children to be healthy, then we have to model healthy. We have to always be demonstrating what is a healthy relationship. And maybe you don't know that because you didn't grow up in a healthy environment. But I guess that's why I want parents to understand that even though you didn't grow up with healthy, you can still model healthy to your kids. You just need to know what is healthy and what isn't. And punishment actually is not healthy. Okay, so what is healthy is your kids feel seen, they feel heard, they feel loved, and they feel supported. And when we are punishing, we're not supporting them. When we are punishing, we're not loving them. All right. So we can use other methods. And I will explain to you what I do with my children, and what I know works that does not damage them. Okay. So um, let's say that your child has homework and he is not doing homework. Okay. This is actually a scenario from my own experience as a mom, a teenager, parents of teenagers. I totally empathize. Um, so my youngest son, he has homework over spring break. Doesn't want to do it. Wants to enjoy his spring break. I totally get it, right? Yeah, it's spring break. You should have a break. But the teacher assigned homework, and it's actually a difficult assignment. It's reading a book in French. He's been in a bilingual school um, since kindergarten, and uh, now he has to read this novel. And that vocabulary is quite hard, he said. When he complained about it, the first thing I did was listen to him and hear him out. So tell me about it. What's going on? How come you don't want to do it? Right? Because now we're offering understanding and we're letting them speak their their thoughts. Okay, and that's healthy. Again, I'm modeling healthy behavior, right? Okay, tell me about it. What's going on? How come you don't want to do it? And so then we have the conversation, and he tells me that it's hard. My French isn't that great. I have to translate every page, and all of these kinds of things. And I said, okay, all right. So I hear you. So this is my conversation with him. I say, okay, so what do you think will help? I want to move into problem solving and not sitting in victimhood, right? Victimhood is, oh, poor me, I have to do this, right? And I explained to him, we have to do things we don't like. Mom has to do things she doesn't like, right? It is part of our lives doing things we don't like. Um, but I hear you. I understand it's difficult. Um, I, I I want to help. How can I help you? Okay. And he's like, "Oh, mom, you can't help. It's okay." That was his dialogue with me. I said, "Okay, fine. Let me know if there's anything I can do, right?" And then I don't want to nag him about it. So I'm gonna give him space to figure it out. Okay? Because that builds confidence. Like mom's not nagging me, she's not directing me, she's not telling me what to do. In my mind, yes, I'm scared. Oh, he's not going to do it, right? But I calm my fears down and I say, what is the worst thing that could happen if he doesn't do this assignment? Is it going to ruin his life? No, it's not. It's not going to ruin it, right? So I'm going to let it go and not parent out of fear. And so as I am loving him and giving him support and letting him speak his thoughts and his feelings, second week into spring break, I have a conversation again. I say, so what's happening with this novel? Because he hasn't touched it, he hasn't read it. What's going on? Are you going to leave it to the last minute? Like, do you think that's a good idea? This is the conversation I'm having with him. And notice I'm questioning and not directing. Okay. And he says, yeah, mom, I know. I need to get it started. Okay. But I don't nag anymore because it's his responsibility. And it's not my responsibility to pick him up, right? He's growing up, he's becoming a man. So I'm not going to direct, nag, or get on his case about it, right? I've already reframed in my mind that it's one assignment. So it's not the end of the world. And even if he doesn't do it, it's not going to ruin his life. Okay. And I think parents, we have to do that because we can go to that bad place, right? We can go to that fearful place. And that actually is not helpful for our kids. Right. So he comes back home um, 2 days ago, maybe 3 days ago. And he says to me, oh, mom, I read 7 chapters of the book. And so inside, I'm like, hooray. But I praised him like crazy. And which is really good, parents, right? When our kids are doing something that you're proud of, you need to tell them. I'm like, I'm so proud of you, honey. You did it. You're on it. So proud of you, right? Like now you don't have to worry so much about it because you started it and you got into 7 chapters. That's so awesome. I'm so happy. Now, you see this conversation, what it did, what it opened, and I didn't even have to nag him, right? And now I know he's on it. And I don't have to sit and worry. I wasn't worried anyway. Like I was very, very calm about it. Um, Now what would happen if I had punished him? What would happen if I have said, no, you can't go out with your friends, you can't play online, you can't do anything until you finish reading that book? What would have happened, do you think? He wouldn't listen. He would hate me. He would like, Mom's unreasonable. Mom doesn't believe in me. Mom thinks I can't get it done on my own. That is what happens when we are directing and controlling. We're actually undermining their confidence and their ability to do it themselves. So we have to stop that. And we have to allow them to make mistakes, but also to take charge of the things that they need to do and not coddle them and not nag them and not treat them like they're babies, right? We're raising grown-ups. We always have to remember that our children are with us for a short time. And we want to raise kids or adults that are confident. And we do not allow them to be confident. We don't help them to be confident by directing, controlling, and nagging. So we have to reframe. We have to stop it. Okay. All right. So what do we do instead? So I gave you an example from my own parenting life of what I do. But I also want to say, parents, if you want compliance, if you want to make impact in your child's life, the way to do it is by having a strong relationship with them. Okay, I'm going to repeat that because many of us did not grow up with relationship as the key to a healthy family life. So when we have relationship with our kids, we can have the most impact on them. And punishing damages relationship 100%. You're taking away things that they like, and you're not working with them on whatever the problem is. Okay. So punishment damages relationship and it damages our kids, right? Our relationship with them will be broken when we are resorting to punishment. All right. When there is a problem with that we're worried about, then the first thing we need to do is to understand, like what I did with my son. I said, tell me about it. How come? Why? Right? I am going to find out what he's thinking before I do anything else. Okay, so we listen to what the concern is. Like, okay, so you had a fight with Johnny at school. How come? What's happening? What happened? Right? So now we're trying to understand. Oh, he was teasing me and he pushed me first or whatever it is in the story. So we're going to listen to the story. Okay. And then we're going to ask questions about it. We're going to say, so honey, do you think the way you responded was the best way? Could you have done something else? What else could you have done so you didn't get in trouble? Right? You're right. Somebody shouldn't be treating you like that. I hear you. I hear what you're saying. Absolutely, you have every right to be upset. But I want you to think about your behavior, honey. What what could you have done differently? Right? Because now we're moving into like life is about lessons. And we want to teach our children these lessons. And we do that by asking questions that they get to think about it. And we can also share our own experiences. You know, when I was a kid, somebody did this to me, and this is how I handled it, or this is what I was told to do, right? We can use our own examples from our lives or things that we've learned, but we also should ask them questions because then it gets them thinking about the problem. Problem solving. Problem solving is healthy. problem solving instead of punishing. Let's problem solve this. How can we do better? How can we get better? What did you learn from this experience? What can you do next time? This is much more powerful than resorting to punishment. Okay. And you give them an opportunity to get better and do better. Because when you're having this conversation, you're actually giving them confidence. You're actually involving them and you're also connecting, right? So it's really, really good to have those kinds of conversations. I think a lot of parents, because they did not have these conversations with their parents when they were kids, they struggle having these kinds of conversations with their children. But you can learn it. Like I learned it. I did not have these kinds of conversations with my mom and dad. Not until I was an adult, right? Uh, and it's good to have those kinds of conversations with your parents, even as an adult. It's hard, it's part of the healing journey. But because I didn't have it, I didn't have it role model to me when I was a kid, I had to learn it. I had to learn, okay, what is relationship? How do you build relationship? How do you talk to people so that they want to work with you, so that they want to comply? How do we talk to our kids in a way that validates them, but also gives the message that they can problem solve this. It gives them the confidence to do it. So that's what I'm going to say, parents. So if you refrain from punishment, which is unhealthy, and you move towards a relational dialogue with your child, you are going to see a difference in the way that they are behaving. It is going to be the game changer, honestly. You're not going to have the same kind of issues. And you also have to monitor yourself. I always say we have to parent from the inside out. We bring an energy into our homes. And if the energy is fear, nervousness, insecurity, needing to be filled up all the time, right? If we are bringing in that energy because we haven't healed our childhood pain, then our kids get affected. They feel it. They feel our emotions and they feel our energy. So we have to be so mindful of what energy am I bringing into the home? Am I a stressed out energy, tired, feeling bad for myself? Um, if it is, then we have to change it and we need self-care. But we cannot parent from a place of strength when we're depleted. So we have to make sure that we are filling up our own emotional bank accounts through our kids, but through ourselves and our friends and family support, so that we can give it to our children, give this filling up of their emotional needs. Okay. Behavior is communicating need. So we have to figure out if they're misbehaving, if they're behaving poorly, if they're crying, screaming, um, hitting people, then we have to figure out what is it that they need from us because we're not giving them what they need if they are behaving badly. It is really the truth, parents. Uh, Behavior communicates a need. We need to figure out what is the need so that we can fill that up. And that is going to stop the misbehavior, not punishment. Punishment will not stop it. Okay. It will suspend it temporarily, but it's also going to damage your relationship with your child because now they're not going to tell you things because you got mad and you took away their phone. So now they're not going to tell you things. They're going to hide things and the relationship is going to be broken. Okay. So if you want a strong relationship with your kids, you got to stop punishing. Okay. Okay. So, I just want to share, like I'm working with a mom right now, and her son has been struggling, really struggling, uh, with school attendance, with his moods, very irate at home. She used the word disrespectful. Um, and so I've been working with mom just on her, what energy she's bringing into her home and how she can start to improve things. And I said, rather than look at what he's doing wrong, I want you to compliment everything he's doing right. Okay, right? What we focus on grows, right? With our kids in our lives. So every time he's doing something good, I want you to praise him. Your job is not to nag him and tell him. Your job is to love him and feed up the emotional bank account, fill it up. And so it's been 3 weeks now that she's been working on. We've been working together on just her working on filling up the emotional bank account with him. And she said she noticed a difference in the way he was, like calmer. He wants to connect with her. He wants to sit and watch a movie with her and her other son. Uh, he is showing signs of change. And so, parents, that's why I'm telling you that this actually does work. So, it's not going to be an overnight process, especially if you haven't been filling up the emotional bank account for years. Then it's going to take time. But stick with it because if you keep working on your relationship with your child, then you're going to see a difference in the way that they are and in their behavior. All right. So stick with it and keep going. I know it's tough. Sure. Parenting is tough. It's really, really tough. But I'm here and I know what needs to be done and what needs to be changed. So reach out for support anytime. Okay, parents, I hope that helps. I'm just going to do a quick takeaway. Okay, here's the takeaway. First of all, punishment damages our kids, and we need to refrain from using punishment as our first go-to. The first thing we need to do is we need to make sure that every day we're filling up the emotional bank account of our kids. We love you. So happy to see you. You know, you're amazing, right? We fill them up with words and with actions and our care. And then when we want compliance, let's say a problem happens, a behavior problem or something, um, then we have to have a conversation when they're calm. Honey, what happened? Why were you so angry? Or what happened at school today? How come I got a phone call from school? And we listen and we try to understand their side, their point of view. Okay. And then we're going to move them towards problem solving. Okay. So what do you think is going to help? Do you think it was good to do that? How can we make things better? How can I help you? Right? Because now we're providing support and we don't have to resort to punishment. Okay. How how can uh how can you move towards getting your homework done? What do you need from me? Do you want to set up a schedule? Right? It can be as simple as homework. It can be as severe as you're not coming to school. How come you're not coming to school? What's going on? How can I help? Right? So those are the conversations that we have to have with our kids. So filling up, so refrain from punishment, fill up the emotional bank account every day, and then have conversations when a problem comes. Do not try to control or direct, but try to involve your child in the conversation of what's going on and how can we make it better. All right, parents, it really works. Try it, try it, try it. Works like magic. You would not believe it. All right. Thank you, parents, for joining today. You know, I love you and reach out for support. And, if this show has blessed you, helped you, changed you in any way, then I would appreciate a review on the podcast. And follow me on my YouTube channel. It's everything is posted there, so you can see the video of all the podcast episodes. All right, take care, everybody. Bye for now. Thank you, parents, for joining the show today. I hope it was valuable and that you have some useful tools to use with your children. If this show blessed you or changed you in any way, I would appreciate a review on my podcast, or subscribe to my YouTube channel, or perhaps you could even recommend our masterful parenting to your family and friends. Thank you so much, parents.